Hi everyone, Arlene here. Welcome back to my Country Craft Corner and Arlene's Travels. How in the world are you guys doing today? It is so good to see you again, and thank you so much for stopping back by to see what I'm up to. And what I'm up to today is, as you can see, Chris and I are back home here in Virginia, in Fredericksburg, Virginia, after a wonderful whirlwind back-to-back cruise. Oh my goodness, you guys, I'm telling you, I have so much to share with you about these two cruises and about our time with Barb and Dawn and some other folks that we met and were on board with. And I just have so much to share with you that I'm not going to be able to do it in one big trip report. Plus, I think I've found in the past that it's just too much to do everything in one trip report. It takes me over an hour to do it. I have to remember everything, and I have to compile it into an hour's worth of footage. And sometimes, especially with a cruise like this, it's just too difficult to do that. If I was just doing a day trip or a couple day trip, then sure, I could do it in one trip video. But honestly, I have so much to share. It was an Alaska cruise first. And it was an amazing time. First thing I want to do is, the first thing I'm going to talk about is the first 4 days of our trip that entail our travel day, our embarkation day onto the ship, and then the first 2 sea days, and I'll explain that. But I wanted to go through the itinerary for the Alaska cruise because that's what we're going to be talking about first. Just to let you know, we did a 12-day Alaska round trip out of Vancouver cruise first. And then we stayed on the ship and we did a Pacific wine country. Now, y'all know we're not wine drinkers, but it's just called that because I guess the ports that they stop at are, you know, do California wine or whatever. I don't even know. To tell you the truth, we just went on that cruise because it was not an expensive cruise. It was one to tack on to the back of the Alaska cruise to get us down out of Canada and into the United States to fly home from LA, which are shorter flights from Vancouver. So let me give you the itinerary for the Alaska cruise first. It started on Wednesday, September the 14th. And it started, as I said, in Vancouver, BC. Then the next day, this is what it was supposed to be, and I will explain here in a minute why it didn't turn out to be quite this. The first day was, embarkation day was Vancouver. Then we were going to be at sea. Then the next day was Juneau, then Skagway, then Icy Strait Point, Glacier Bay, Sitka, Endicott Arm, Ketchikan, Prince Rupert, at sea, Victoria, and then back to Vancouver. Now, y'all, that is an intense itinerary. There were some ports on here that I had never visited before, such as Icy Strait Point and Sitka and Endicott Arm, Prince Rupert. I had never visited any of those places. So we were super excited about this itinerary because we had never done some of these ports, you know. So, but anyway, let's get started and I will explain. Excuse me, I am extremely tired and jet lagged, but I want to do this and I want to get these in the can. I'm going to try to do a video every other day, you know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at least, and maybe one over the weekend too, just so I can get my trip report done throughout this. I will probably do 3 to 4 ports depending on what, or 3 to 4 days in the itinerary, depending on what the ports are. Like Glacier Bay Day might take longer and so on. And I'll probably do the California Coastal Cruise in one video because we didn't do a lot on that one. But still we do have some things to share with you on that cruise. So anyway, let's get started. As I said, I am jet lagged, so I know I look a little tired and a little beat up from the travel day home. But you know, I put up with travel days like that because of the rewards I get and the memories that are made with travel, you guys. It's important to me and Chris, both of us, to be able to travel. We are so grateful and we love to travel and we're grateful to still be able to do it. Alrighty, so let's get started. As I said, the cruise started on September the 14th. We always go the day before because I've told this story before. If you haven't heard it, I'll tell it very quickly. Our very first cruise that we ever did was an Alaska cruise back in 2007, and we didn't know better, and we tried to fly in the same day as the cruise. Well, long story short, our airplane broke down on the tarmac at Dulles Airport. We had to cancel our cruise because there was no way out of any of the airports in the area that could get us from Dulles to Alaska and onto the cruise ship in time to catch the ship. I always, always, always encourage everyone to, especially if you're flying and especially if you're flying across the country like we have to do to get to, a port that will go to Alaska, go the day or two before. Now, there were some hoops, of course, that we had to jump through before we could even leave for the trip. One was we had to fill out the ArriveCan app, and I'll explain later that you don't have to do that anymore. And we had to fill out a Verifly app. We flew with American Airlines, and so Chris handled both of those. I was going to do my own ArriveCan app, but Chris said, "Oh, I can do it for both of us." I'm like, go ahead. I was still trying to finish up, all the stuff around for my decorating. So he filled out everything that we needed to have filled out, bless his heart. Then we both had to take, of course, a COVID test, which you don't have to do anymore now either. Lucky us, but we had to take a COVID test within 48 hours, I believe, of leaving or of embarking onto the ship. So we took that the day before. Thank goodness we're both negative. And so we had to do all that before we could even think about leaving. And I'm telling you guys, that puts a lot of extra, especially the COVID test. I understood it. Oh, I'm not complaining. Mind you, too much. I'm not complaining too much. Because that in and of itself could have stopped us in our tracks if one of us had become positive, come out positive. But thankfully, we were both negative. So September 13th, our flights left out of Richmond at about 3:45 in the afternoon, which made me a little nervous. American had changed our flights. We had made our flights for earlier in the day, and we were going to be into Vancouver by, I think it was going to be 6 o'clock in the evening. Well, no, they switched our flights, made the flights, pushed them back till later. And as it was, we didn't get into Vancouver till 10 or 10:30 that night, which was nerve-wracking for me. That's cutting it close for me. But regardless, so we leave the house here, turn on all the alarms, turn on all the cameras. The pool guys kept coming while we were gone. We haven't done a lot. Not a lot's been done to the pool. We're at a holding pattern waiting for the stamped concrete fellas to arrive. They did put the pool cover in, and if I can insert a picture here, I will, of that, and they're filling it up right now. So plus, we've been having rain. We've been having the remnants of the hurricane. By the way, let me pause right here and say that we've been keeping everybody who has been affected by Hurricane Ian in our prayers, in our thoughts. Bella, especially, one of my ladies told me that you lost the roof of your house. I'm sorry, I did not know. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. If anybody of you can reach out to Bella, offer your help in any way, reach out to her personally, please. But keep her at the very least in your thoughts and prayers as she traverses through this very, very, very difficult time. I did want to mention that. Sorry, right in the middle of things here. But so anyway, we went to the airport. We flew out of Richmond International Airport, which is about an hour and a half south of us, and got there on time. Our flight was on time. I had a wheelchair assist at the airport. As you know, maybe some of you don't know, I took my scooter with me this time. No, I don't use it around town much, but I'll tell you, on the cruise ship, it is a game changer for me. It really helps me to get from point A to point B, which sometimes is quite a distance for those of us who have a little bit of mobility issue. I had lost 34 pounds before we left. By the way, I gained 4, but I've already gained 7. I've already lost 3 of that since I've been home, and I know that 4 will go off very quickly. I feel pretty good about that. Regardless, I'm right back, have been right back for the last 2 days, right back on my regular eating regimen, and hopefully I will continue to lose. Not going to lose focus, you guys. I'm not going to lose focus. Of course, I keep losing focus when I'm talking to you and going off the beaten path here. So in Richmond, we had no problems with the wheelchair. They got us right there to the gate, or did I ride my scooter? I think I rode my scooter to the gate, actually. And then they took it and checked it and got to Dallas-Fort Worth. We went through Dallas-Fort Worth, had a layover there for only about 45 minutes. And wheelchair was right there to get me. As we walked off the plane, Chris got his bulkhead seats. We'll say we flew first class, and he got his bulkhead seats, so we were first right there in the first row. And he did that on purpose because he knew our layovers were very short, and we didn't have a lot of time between flights. And American gave us for a flight. So anyway, regardless, got off, got right in the wheelchair. Thankfully, our gate was like 4 down from where we landed. Got right there, got right back on the next plane, had the kind of the same seats. And off we went to Vancouver. All the flights went off on time, no hitches at all with the flights, which I was so grateful for. Was worried about that because we had heard so many people getting their flights canceled or moved or whatever. We had no issues, absolutely no issues, until we landed in Vancouver. And you know, you guys, I say that I'm honest and I'm straightforward with you, and I'm going to be honest and straightforward with you. It was a crapshoot at Vancouver when it came to my wheelchair assist. I'm sorry, but it was. There was nobody. You know, when you walk off of the plane right there, there's usually a wheelchair sitting right there waiting for you. At the very least, you might need to walk up to, or at the very most, you might have to walk up to the end of the, you know, the tunnel that you go through, and there's a wheelchair there. Usually they have them right outside when you walk out of they have them lined up there for all that needed them. There were apparently 12 people. By the way, I wanted to tell you, including Miss Linda Thompson. Here is a picture of us, who met me there at Richmond Airport, who her flight had gotten canceled in the morning. She ended up on our flight, so she was on our flight, and she was one of the ones who needed to have help too that day, bless her heart. But anyway, so hi Linda, it was so good to see you throughout the whole trip. Which is really neat to have a home. She's from, you know, kind of south of Richmond, but we're here, Virginia girls, both of us Virginia girls. And I met her husband. It was wonderful, Mike. And it was wonderful little time with Linda there at the airport. We sat and chatted, and it was nice. It was nice to know that she was on the plane with us, and, you know, the whole bit. It's kind of a little bit of camaraderie there. So anyway, I start walking and get up to the end of the tunnel and beyond. And here comes the guy with a wheelchair. And Chris, he said, "Is that for Arlene?" And he goes, "Yes, it is." And he said, "But there are 11 other people." And we're like, oh my goodness. Okay, so he sat me down in this wheelchair. Well, you know, I'm no small thing, but chairs, I usually fit in wheelchairs, no problem. Well, this wheelchair must have been for a little tiny person, because I sat down in this thing and he starts rolling me, and it had metal sides on it, you guys. And when the wheels turned, they rubbed up against the metal sides, which in turn rubbed on my hips and was very hot. And I kept having to scooch around in the seat. So I had to scooch one way to give the one hip a break, and then I scooched the other way to give the other hip a break. It was terrible. It was terrible. And he was going really fast, and I was like, just don't say anything, just get there, you know. Well, I got to a point where then he stopped and he said, "You got to get in that." And I looked at him and I said, "I have to get," it was a golf cart sitting there. He said, "You need to get there. You need to sit down there, and you need to wait until other people arrive." And I'm like, okay, you know, we were at our destination, so I wasn't worried about having to wait. It wasn't that, you know. He said, "Now your husband could go on. He could go on and he can do whatever, you know, but you need to sit here and you wait." I was not the most kind person in the world. Now, y'all know I'm very kind. I'm very kind online here. I'm very kind, as people will tell you when I meet them in person. I'm kind. I'm the same as you see. I'm getting a little frustrated by this point, you know. I'm getting a little frustrated. I was in a little pain from being in that wheelchair. So I'm sitting there in the golf cart. Here comes another lady. I help her in the golf cart. Here comes another lady. We help her in the golf cart. Chris goes on to go to, you have to go through customs, and you have to, Thankfully, he had already signed out or filled out our custom forms. And anyway, I'll get there. So anyway, here comes the girl, another girl. The guy that ran me on the that pushed me on the wheelchair was gone. Here comes another girl. She gets in the golf cart and she takes off. I about fell. I was in the back facing backwards. I almost went flying right out of the thing. I'm like grabbing anything I can to hold on for dear life. Oh my gosh, it was a harrowing little ride. She gets us around to the kiosk, and I can see the kiosk where I need to go. And instead of pulling us over there when she knows we're mobility, troubled, if, so to speak, and we're, I don't know, 50 yards or more away from the kiosks. So I get out and I'm like, all right, well, I have no choice. There's no wheelchair. My scooter was who knows where. There was nowhere. I had to walk. I didn't have my cane. I had to walk. So I walked. I mean, you do what you have to do, So I walked over to the kiosk, found Chris, who was standing there waiting for me. Thankfully, the kiosk, what you do is you put your passport in, and it scans your passport, and it has all your information in. You have to put in your COVID test. You had to do your Arrive Can app. All that stuff is in there. You also had to fill out the customs form, which you just have to review and say yes. And we got through there pretty quickly. I was grateful. But then right after the kiosk, you have to get in a line that snakes in and out to go through the border, to the border patrol agent. Show your passport, say why you're in Canada, blah, blah, blah. I was about in tears in that line. Standing and having to snake in and out of that line was not easy for me. It had been a long day. I was tired. And I was like, okay, well, we're going to get through this. We're going to get through it, And Chris was looking around there were no wheelchairs to be found. There was no personnel. It was late at night. It was like the 2 border patrol agents, and that was about it. Finally, we got up there, showed our passports, got right through, of course. And thankfully, where our luggage was coming out was carousel like 21, which was, not very far. So I was able to walk a little bit further, and I plopped down like you would not believe, like an old sack of potatoes, I'm telling you. And our luggage came right out, but the scooter was nowhere to be found. So Chris went on the search for the scooter. I felt horrible because I was the one that brought the scooter, and he couldn't find it. We couldn't find it or see it anywhere. Finally, we found an employee that he found an employee that he could ask, and it had come out. We didn't know this beforehand. And this is why I do these videos, so that I can tell you guys. We didn't know this beforehand, but it was down at carousel 36. That's where it was. So here I look up, and after like 15, 20 minutes of searching, though, here I look up, and here comes Chris on my scooter, which was a funny sight because he's so agile and in great shape. And here he comes with my scooter. Bless his heart. He's my saint. I'm telling you guys, he is a saint. He takes such good care of me, and I'm so grateful. Anyway, here he came with my scooter. We were able to get our luggage and get out of there. We got a taxi, which was not the easiest task, but we did it. Got a taxi, got us to, that night we stayed in the Pacific Gateway Hotel right there at the airport. And we were supposed to stay at another hotel, the Ramada Inn, and 2 weeks or so before our trip, they called us and said, we've moved you to the Pacific Gateway Hotel because that hotel, the Ramada, was being partially taken over by Ukrainian refugees, So we got moved to the Pacific Gateway, which worked out to be fine with us. And Barb and Don were at the Ramada, as were Patty and her husband, Mike. Patty is Barb's sister. Hi, Pat. Hi, Barb. Hi, Dawn. Hi, Mike. So they were staying at the Ramada, and that turned out to be good. If any of the 3 couples needed to be moved, it should have been us. So we were glad that we were the ones to be moved so that the 2 sisters, and hubbies could stay together. So we ended up getting, the hotel actually arranged for us to have a taxi the next morning, and one that would accommodate our luggage and the scooter. And so we didn't have to do anything. We just really went in there and collapsed pretty much that night, went to bed. And next morning got up and the taxi was right there on time. They had a little, we're given a little voucher because the Ramada had a breakfast, but the Pacific Gateway didn't, but they had like a little coffee shop kind of thing. So Chris got us, they really didn't have anything breakfast. He got a turkey sub that we split and we ate the turkey and cheese out of. We knew we would be having plenty to eat, so that did not bother us, you know. So the taxi took us right to, I have been probably showing you pictures and will continue to show pictures as we go here and as I talk. And I already looked at my time and it's clicking away from me already here. Oh my goodness. So off we go to Canada Place, the cruise port, the Canada Place. Oh my goodness, it's such a pretty cruise port there in Vancouver, BC. Vancouver is a beautiful city, beautiful town, pretty clean, nice people, you know, very, very nice. Lots of traffic, you know, of course on a cruise day because all your cruisers are in town. But he got us right to Canada Place, pulled us down underneath and pulled us right to where we needed to go. We got the scooter out. We got the, you know, our suitcases out, or dropped our suitcases off with the porter and kept our backpacks with us and the scooter. And off we went to go through registration, which was easy peasy, lemon squeezy. We had our medallions already, you know, everything taken care of for registration. So all we had to do was scan our medallion and we were put into a cruise, the Canada Place cruise terminal for a while. We did have to wait because we got there at like 10:30 and we had to wait till probably 11:15 until they got the ship turned around, you know, from the cruise before. And then they allowed mobility on first and then elites and then so on and so on and so on. So we were allowed on first and off we went, and here they are showing their hearts and whatever, you know, as we come on, welcoming us aboard. I always get so choked up because I love cruising so much, and it's like old home week because you don't necessarily see the same people, but the crew on these princess ships, probably on all cruise ships, they are so sweet, they are so kind, they're so grateful to have their jobs, to be back to cruising again, and they're so grateful to welcome we who love to cruise back on board. So what an experience that was. Our stateroom was ready when we climbed on, and our stateroom was a mini suite. This time I've put up a tour of our mini suite D712 on the Dolphin deck, which is deck 9. Showing you some pictures, but I have a video up if you would like to go and check that out. It's in this same playlist, the first one in the playlist, as a matter of fact. So we went, we dropped our backpacks off and put our, you know, our money and our passports and everything in the little safe. And off we went to meet everybody for lunch. Lunch was open in the Da Vinci dining room at noon. It opened at noon to 1:30. So in there we went to have our first day's lunch. We always do that. We try to always do that. There usually is a main dining room open for lunch on embarkation day. And then we had a big time there and had our orange souffle, you know, that we always tease about. And, you know, they give you an orange souffle and then poke a hole in it and put this vanilla sauce in it.
Hurry up while she's holding the
Oh my goodness, Barb and I shared one that day because I didn't want to eat a whole one. So I had about three spoonfuls of it, and just to have a taste of it, you know. And then what did I have for lunch? I don't remember. Oh, I had, anyway, little beef tenderloins, just little pieces of beef, and a little potato and carrots, warm carrots, and a salad. I had a garden salad, and it was delicious. So then after that, we just kind of split up and went to our rooms to unpack. We don't have to go to a muster drill anymore. You just have to go to your muster station, which you can find on the back of your stateroom door, by the way, or on your medallion or on your medallion class app. And you just have to take your medallion to your muster station and let them scan it and to show that you're on board and that you've checked in. And then you can either watch your safety video you can either watch it on your smartphone or smart device, or what we do is just go and turn on the TVs, and the very first thing they show pretty much is the safety video. So then we were supposed to sail away at 4 o'clock, And we were out on our balcony and we were, in the midst of unpacking and everything. And we started to pull away. And the captain was like, yes, we're pulling away, blah, blah, blah. We're so excited. Whoop, whoop. Well, next thing we know, we're pulling back to the dock. And we're like, whoa, 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 whoa. What's happening? Why are we pulling back to the dock? So the captain comes on. He was so funny. We had two captains, one for one of the cruises and one for the other one. And this captain, he was so funny. Every time he would come on, he would go, yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. He was Italian. I'm sorry to interrupt you in whatever you're doing, whether you're eating or dancing or this or that. He always says that. So he came on this time and said that he was sorry, but they were having a starboard side thruster problem and they were having to pull it back to the dock and they were going to get their people on it. And he kept coming back about every hour on the hour just to give us an update. They really kept us well informed about everything on this ship. I was so impressed with Princess. Again, so impressed with Princess. So we went ahead to dinner. Our dinner time was 4:45 every evening in the Da Vinci dining room. And we had the same wait staff throughout the first cruise. And then we talked to the maitre d' in the dining room and we were able to procure a 4-top for the next cruise. We got a 6-top for the first cruise for all of us and the 3 couples. And then for the second cruise, we had a 4-top. For that cruise because it was just going to be Dawn and Barb and me and Chris. But it had the same wait staff. And it was the 4-top was the same table we had on our Hawaii cruise back in January. Different wait staff, but same table. This wait staff, I have to tell you, you guys, was phenomenal. Izagani, if you're watching, thank you. Dee, thank you. And Mark, thank you. All of you guys were phenomenal. Oh my goodness, you guys, you just would not believe the attention to detail, the kindness, the jokes. Izagani, which I'll tell you later, I'll tell you more about Izagani later, but he was a little magician and he would give us puzzles to do with toothpicks and he was amazing. Here, and you see a picture of him here with Barb. Izagani, we love you. We miss you. We hope you have some people there who are being very kind to you this week. I'm sure that they are enjoying you and whomever is your helper this week. Hopefully you got Adi back or Mark is still there. Those 2 gentlemen were the best. All of you guys were the best. And please say hi to Abel for us. Oh my gosh, we loved him. He was the supervisor there, came to check on us every single night. And I'll tell you more about him in the later videos too. But wonderful gentleman. So anyway, we were so tired. We had dinner and it was a wonderful dinner. I don't remember what I had for dinner or anything that night, to be honest with you. But off we went and didn't do a lot that evening. We were all very tired from traveling. Went back to our stateroom, kind of finished unpacking. And I tried to stay up. We were still in port when I went to bed at 11. And I couldn't stay up, which was really like 2 o'clock in the morning our time. Tried to stay up, couldn't do it. And I woke up at 3 in the morning and I was like, oh, please, Lord, let us have left the dock. Because I had nightmares that we were not going to leave the dock, after everything it took to get there and all the planning and everything. Well, I got up at 3 o'clock and I peeked out the curtains and we were at sea. So I knew that something got fixed and we were off and running. So... but the captain came on the next day and that said that because we had the thruster problem, this is why, it is so important that these cruise ships leave the port when they are scheduled to leave the port, because any delay can cause issues with the itinerary, with, whatever their itinerary is, or if they need to get under a bridge at a certain time, like the Lionsgate Bridge coming out of Vancouver, and you hear people, there was a lady last week saying something about, these people were running for the ship and they were only 15 minutes late, but the ship left them at the dock. Well, the ship had a schedule to keep. The ship didn't have a choice. It needed to leave. For all the other, however many thousands of people had certainly managed to make it to the ship, but you're going to make the ship wait for these 2 people because they couldn't get there on time. I'm sorry, but make your plans so that you get there on time, because the ship usually needs to leave port. Of course, this ship couldn't leave port because of this, the thruster problem, which caused us to lose Icy Strait Point out of our itinerary. So what we did, it was just going to be, when I say a sea day and then Juneau, well, they added in another sea day and pushed Juneau back a day and pushed Skagway back a day and took Icy Strait out, and then the rest of the itinerary was the same. And we understood it. We were sad about it, of course, a little bit, because we wanted to see Icy Strait Point. Barb had a zip lining, excursion ready to go. She's a little pistol, I'm telling you. And she was going to go do that and was really looking forward to that. But she couldn't do that. It'll have to be another time, Barb. Hopefully they'll offer us up another itinerary with Icy Strait Point on it, and you can go do your zip line. And maybe I'll join you if I can get skinnier. But anyway, so we woke up the next day and we were at sea, and I'm pulling up my pictures here. Very first thing, Chris came in, first thing in the morning going, "Hey, the orca!" He stuck his head in the word, "Orca, orca!" And I'm like, "What? Where? What?" I'm barely awake, I go trekking out on my balcony though. And there they were, just a beautiful little, 2 or 3 orca. I saw like the fin of one, but Chris has got some pictures. I'll put them here. And then later in the day, we saw some Pacific white-sided dolphins. And they were beautiful. And I've got some pictures that I'll show you here. Then we saw Dall's porpoises. Then we saw humpbacks. It was just crazy. Just this very first day at sea. Very first day. And, an Alaska cruise is going to provide you with a wildlife and sea life viewing opportunities. Now, just to tell you straight out, we do have 2 really nice DSLR cameras. My lens is a 150 to 300 mm lens. Chris's is 150 to 600. And that's how he got a lot of these pictures, because these, some of the dolphins, though, I have to say, were rigged by the ship. They were pretty close. The humpback was pretty far out, as was the white-sided dolphin, although they were coming toward the ship in some of the pictures. But Chris caught some amazing pictures just this very first day out. Then we saw a houseboat going by. I don't know where they were taking the houseboat, but that was pretty funny to see. Not funny, but just, interesting. And you can see Chris and Dawn get their picture taken, tried to do a selfie the other way, and I'm like, no, I'll take it from here. So these 2 funny guys, they get along so well. Here I am with cruise hair, don't care, didn't care a lick. Ended up adopting a new kind of hairdo, which I'll tell you about that later too, which I haven't today, up in bun today. But, we just had a wonderful, calm day. We had called Barb and Dawn over on the balcony when all the sea life was coming. Their room was right across the hall from us, which was wonderful. We met them in the hall all the time. We said, come on over. We left our deadlock, kind of open so they could just come in and out as they wanted to come out on the balcony if Chris and I were out on the balcony. And that's another thing on this cruise, which was very different. They encouraged us, the captain and the naturalist and the park rangers encouraged us to keep our balcony doors open this time. Usually they say, no, don't keep your balcony door open because it affects all the other heat or air in the other rooms. This time they said, we encourage you to leave them open. And so we did. A lot of the times we were coming in and out, and we did what they said. I hung up my my map that goes with my Alaska Cruise Companion book, which I had ordered a new one and was going to give my book to Patty, but they didn't have any more on board. It was we were the last Alaska cruise of the season, and they had run out of the books the week before, of course, which I had one, so I had to be an Indian giver and say, Patty, I can't give you my book. Next cruise, I'll give it to you. But I put up my map that goes with that. I've had the book forever, and the book hadn't changed, apparently, they told me. Then I hung up my magnets, of course, and you all saw my outfit of the day video, and I really enjoyed dressing for this cruise. I layered, and I'll talk more about that as we go through too. Here Chris and I are on our first formal night. I had a velvet, that is kind of a velvet jacket, high-low jacket with just black slacks and a black top and black jewelry. Chris is spiffy in his suit with his purple lavender shirt and beautiful gray and lavender tie and handsome, such a handsome fella. Anyway, there we are. And then at dinner that night, you can pick a time to celebrate. So I picked my birthday, which is in just a couple of weeks from now, but the closest birthday was my birthday. So we picked my birthday to celebrate all week. Every time I went by one of their big screens for the medallion, happy birthday, Arlen, and balloons would go and, all this stuff. And here's our wait staff and more people coming around to sing me happy birthday. We got the very end of it.
Happy birthday to you. All right.
Thank you so much. Bless their hearts, and so sweet, so sweet, and they sounded really good, didn't they, singing happy birthday. And then that night we were able to listen to the captain, who told us, I believe, that crew, or the capacity on that cruise, I think, was like 1,355 plus however many crew, about 1,000 crew. So the capacity on the ship is 2,600 passengers. So we were running about half capacity, which it seemed like that, and it was good. Mask, you had to wear masks on board, inside, except when you were eating or drinking, and outside when you couldn't social distance. So there was a masking policy, and I think that mirrored what they did for their northbound and southbound voyage of the Glaciers cruise. They just did it for this Alaska cruise too. All other Princess cruises, you don't really have to wear a mask anymore. But for the Alaska cruises that went in and out of Canada, you had to. So because of Canada's protocols, which they have since dropped, of course, after we're done. But whatever, forward an hour. So we had already lost 3 hours or gained 3 hours, or however you put that. I never can get that right. Anyway, there's a 4-hour difference between, like here right now, it's, I need to change my clock. I didn't change my clock, but it's 1:30. 3:30, 1:30, so it would be 9:30 in 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, yeah, 9:30 in Alaska. So we had to turn the clocks back an hour so we could get on Alaska time through that night. Next morning, we woke up to a beautiful rainbow. Oh my goodness, it was so beautiful, and beautiful sunrise. And we just steamed at sea all day. We were just at sea all day long, and all of a sudden, Chris comes in, humpback. He was always watching, and he was our naturalist sighting. All of the whales and dolphins and all the stuff. The otters later in the cruise, just amazing. He could really spot them. So here we found a juvenile. This was a juvenile humpback slapping his tail. He was just doing a dance out there, just slapping his tail, and we could see his mama's hump. So we knew she was there with him, but I don't know what they were doing, but he was slapping his tail, having a big time out there. Funny to watch, great. So we just went to dinner and just did the normal stuff, that we always did each day. But that was the end of day 2, was the sea day. Next day would be Juneau, and I'm going to shut my computer. We're not going to talk about Juneau in this video. I've talked enough in this one, and as I say, I'm going to try to not make these as long, these videos, these snippet videos, no more. I was trying to do no more than 30 minutes, but I think I might have gone over with this one a little bit. But I will try my best to keep them right around 30 minutes, because I don't want to keep you in too big of a bulk of a time with me just yammering on. But I do have lots of pictures to show you, and lots to share with you. And hopefully I didn't forget too much as I've been yammering along here. It is so good to be home. It was good to be gone. It was good to do our cruises. But now I've been called for jury duty, you guys. Yes, I have. I had been deferred for September because of the cruises. Now I'm on, and I've been deferred for this first week in October because there were not any trials going on apparently. But I've got a call on Friday to see if I need to report on Monday. So if I don't come back next week with more videos, you'll know where I am. I'm probably taking care of my jury duty for the month of October. I've got to do that every Friday in the month of October. So hopefully, hopefully there's a lot of plea bargains going on in Virginia so that I don't have to do too much. I mean, I want to do my civic duty and I don't mind, but I'm just so busy, got so much going on that I just, honest to goodness, it's going to be difficult to do that too. Anyway, alrighty, I will get back to my decorating. We got to do outside. I'll probably throw those once we get outside done. I'll probably throw a video up to show you the outdoors. But right now we are still recovering and recuperating, and we are tired. So the last thing we want to do is go outside and do any decorating right at the moment. But when I get that done, I will show you, of course, the video for that. Anyway, I'm going to hush now. I hope you guys have had a wonderful last 3 weeks. And thank you guys, and I humbly thank you for being patient with me. Those in my Facebook group, thank you for following along. If you'd like to join my Facebook group and like to follow me when we do our vacations and whatnot, you're always welcome to join. There is a link in the description box. You're always welcome to join my Facebook group because I do share our travels in there as we go. So, all right, you guys, that's it for this one. So let me close it out and say thank y'all so much for stopping in here today. For those of you who might be struggling or suffering with a catastrophic illness or chronic pain, I hope that you have someone there with you, taking care of you, helping you get through each day, making the very, very best out of each day. I hope there's nothing weighing on your minds or your hearts, pulling your attention away from where you want it to be or from where it should be. I love y'all to bits, to bits, to bits. Hugs all around, and I keep you in my thoughts and my prayers every single day. And with all that said, I'll just say, until next time, well, we'll start with Juno in this series. Y'all take good care. Bye-bye.